Okay, great. So perhaps we can get started with today's webinar. Thank you so much everyone for joining today. And we're very, very excited to tell you about our Schmidt Faculty Fellowship Program. Just to give you an idea of a rough timeline for today's webinar, this is largely what we're going to be covering. We'll quickly go around and do a quick round of introductions to all of us from the Oxford side who's going to be on the call. I will then give you an introduction to Schmidt AI in Science in Oxford. My name is Ben Lambert. I'm the director of the Schmidt AI in Science program here. Then I'll hand over to my colleague Siddharth Arora, who will tell you more about the fellowship scheme, its structure, scientific remit, the application process, and questions around eligibility. And then I will give a very short introduction to the university as a whole and the city of Oxford. And then we'll finish up with a live Q&A session. Just to say that you are welcome to ask questions throughout the course of the presentation, although we will not explicitly answer those questions until we get to the Q&A session. That's just so that we don't interrupt the flow of the presentation. So now we can go ahead and give an introduction to everyone else on the call. As I said, my name is Ben Lambert. I'm the director of the Schmidt AI in Science program here at Oxford. I will hand over to Siddharth Arora next to introduce himself.
Thanks, Ben, and welcome everyone to this webinar. I hope you find this useful for the application to the fellowship program. I am Siddharth, and I'm the program director of the Oxford India Centre, which is the largest scholarship awarding body for Indian students at Oxford. And I'll hand over to Naritya.
Thank you, Siddharth. Hi, everybody. I'm Naritya Naval, and I'm currently working as the program administrator at the Oxford India Centre for Sustainable Development, and looking forward to an insightful session. I will hand over to Tanya.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tanya Gujral, and I'm the Schmidt AI in Science Fellowship Program Manager. I mainly work on the postdoctoral program, but I'm also going to be looking after the Faculty Fellowship Program. So I'll pass on to Wendy.
Thank you, Tanya. Hello, everybody. My name's Wendy Keeble. I'm the Programme Administrator for this programme, the Oxford Schmidt Faculty Fellowship. Welcome to you all.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody. With that, we can get started. So I want to start off by just pointing out a point of ambiguity. There are two Schmidt AI in Science programs at Oxford. One of them is a fellowship program aimed at postdoctoral scientists. The other one is the one which we're going to be talking about on this call, is aimed at early career faculty, and that's our faculty fellowship program. So this call is largely going to be about the second of these two fellowship schemes. Although, as I will show on the next few slides, there are quite a lot of commonalities, similarities between the two schemes. So I would say that if you are a postdoctoral fellow, or you're thinking about postdoctoral applications, then I would encourage you to look at our postdoctoral fellowship scheme website. And feel free to drop off the call, because this call is going to be focused on the faculty fellowship scheme. As I said, there are two Schmidt AI in Science programs at Oxford. There is an existing postdoctoral scheme, which was funded by Schmidt Sciences in 2023 to run from 2023 to 2028. And we've made offers to now 34 postdocs on that scheme. Last year, we received additional funding from Schmidt Sciences to initiate a similar scheme, but for early career faculty. And we are going to be, over the next 3 years, recruiting 18 fellows onto this scheme. And each of those fellowships is 3 years in length. This year, we are going to be recruiting 6 fellows onto this scheme, 3 from India and 3 from Africa. Although these two fellowship schemes are different, there are similarities. In both cases, our fellowships are training fellowships. They give you the chance and the space and the time to learn about AI and other areas of technical competence. it also gives you the space and the dedicated support to allow you to grow professionally, for example, through leadership training. We believe that you learn as much, if not more, from your cohort than you do from formal training. And so the whole sort of cohort side of the fellowships is absolutely central. Past experience has told us that in order to have maximal impact in your area of science, then research software engineering is very important. Because if you have good software which underpins your publications, then that allows others to build off of your work, to replicate it, and hence it helps the scientific community as a whole and generates more impact. So training in research software engineering is a central part of our scheme, and we also have dedicated research software engineering support for each of our fellows. More broadly, I think we are entirely dedicated to supporting you and achieving your personal goals. And we recognize that these may be quite different for each of you on the program, and we offer a very tailored way of supporting you in achieving your goals. I now want to talk about two examples of work which have been done under our postdoctoral AI in Science scheme. Now, the areas with which I'm going to be talking about don't exactly map on to the areas with which we're recruiting in the faculty fellowship scheme, which Siddharth will talk about in a few minutes. Although I think that the types of research and the types of uses of AI that our fellows on the postdoctoral scheme are doing give you some indication of the types of projects that we are looking for. So I'm going to first talk about some work done by one of our existing postdoctoral fellows, Dr. Rachel Parkinson. And Rachel is interested in how pesticides can modify the behavior of bumblebees. And so Rachel has built in her laboratory here in Oxford mini kind of shoebox-sized laboratories where she puts bumblebees in there and then exposes them to pesticides and records using both video and audio their behavior. And she is interested in whether it's possible to examine their behavior and then to back calculate the amount of pesticides which are there in the atmosphere. And so Rachel is using cutting edge AI techniques to analyze those video and audio data to try and then inversely go back to the level of pesticides in the environment. I now want to talk about an entirely different application of AI, which is using AI to try and understand the underpinning physics of the breaking of water waves. And that's been pioneered by our fellow Dr. Tim Tang. So what Tim does in his research is he simulates computationally water waves breaking. And that's an extremely computationally expensive process. To simulate a single water wave breaking in 2 dimensions at the required level of fidelity that he needs, it takes him 2 or 3 days on Oxford supercomputers. To simulate a 3-dimensional wave breaking once, it takes roughly 3 weeks. And so what Tim has been doing during his fellowship is generating a huge corpus of water waves breaking by running these simulations on Oxford supercomputers. And then Tim is using a method from AI called symbolic regression to try and learn the equations of motion, which try and represent the physics of what's actually happening beneath the scenes. So I hope that that gives you some idea into the types of ways in which we are thinking about applications of AI to science here at Oxford. And I'm going to pass on now to my colleague, Siddharth, who's going to talk about eligibility.
Thanks, Ben. What I'm going to do in the next few minutes is to give you an idea on 3 things. Number 1, who can apply for this fellowship program? Number 2, what is the fellowship structure like? And number 3, how to apply. Before I do that, I'll just touch upon what we have seen so far. Ben mentioned that there are two fellowship programs. One is for postdoctoral fellows and one is for faculty. This webinar is all about the faculty fellowship program. The second point is we saw two examples of the work being done by Dr. Parkinson and Dr. Tang, and those are kind of examples on applications of AI to answer a scientific question. And that's the main objective of this faculty fellowship as well. We are looking for faculty who use AI to address a scientific question. So who is eligible, who can apply? We are looking for early career faculty who are based in a country in either Africa or they are based in India. So this faculty fellowship program is specifically for faculty in Africa or India. We are looking for early to mid-career faculty who are working as either assistant professor or associate professor. I'll just take a pause to say two things here. In the first year, we aim to recruit 3 Indian faculty and 3 African faculty. And if for any reason you can't apply this year or you think you're not eligible, it's okay. We will be recruiting 3 faculty from India and 3 from Africa next year and the following year. And working at either assistant or associate professor level, if for any reason you feel that I have a title that is similar to assistant or associate professor, I would encourage you get in touch with us or you ask questions at the end of this webinar. But if you think your title is similar to those 2 titles, I would encourage you to apply. And what are we looking for? Faculty who are working in one or more of the following 3 priority application areas, which are climate change, environment, and biodiversity is our area 1. Food and water security is second area. And science, technology, engineering, and mathematics underpinning biomedical research is the third area. These are the 3 priority areas in no particular order. All 3 are equally important. So if you're working in any of those areas or more, 1 or 2, you should be eligible to apply based on the areas of application. The word to focus there is application, which I've highlighted and underlined. We are not looking for experts on methods. We are looking for someone who feels they can apply AI to address a scientific problem. Ben, next slide, please. So I'll now briefly touch upon what the fellowship structure is like. It's a unique 1+1+1 structure. So if you get the fellowship, it's a 3-year program. And now I'll talk about how those 3 years are going to be split. Next slide, Ben. Thanks. So if you get the fellowship, in the first year, you will continue to be based at your home institution in India or Africa. The fellowship will not fund your salary in the first year, but the fellowship will provide you a pot of money to support your teaching, admin, and research cost. There will be a 2-week visit to Oxford funded by the fellowship, whereby you can develop your research plans and network with other fellows and faculty and have a chance to meet us and discuss any kind of training that you might need, be it in the field of AI or any other professional training that you want. So that's year 1. Second year of the fellowship is when you would be coming to Oxford for the whole academic year. You would be based within a research host in a department, more specifically within the Maths, Physical, and Life Sciences division, which we can discuss later. You would also be part of a Oxford College, and Ben would touch upon what that means. And I think what's important here is it's a very generous fellowship. So you will be given salary as part of this fellowship program, which would be comparable to an Oxford associate professor's salary, plus you would have other research expenses to attend conferences, for example. At the end of second year, you would move back to the home institution in India or Africa, and the structure for year 3 would be similar to year 1. I think that's the main point here. If we move to the next slide. Thanks, Ben. So now coming to the point, who can apply and how to apply. These are essential criteria. You have to meet all these criteria. The first one is be a citizen and a resident in Africa or India. The second is be employed at a university or an academic institute in India or Africa. Third, be within first 6 years of the current appointment. What I mean by current. If you have been associate professor for the last 5 years, you can apply. If you have been assistant professors for the last 5 years, let's say, you can apply. If you have been at the university for the last 10 years, where you were assistant professor for the first 5 years, and now you have been associate professor for the last 5 years, you can still apply. So the clock will start at the point of your current appointment and not at the start of your employment at the university. I hope that made sense. If not, we can discuss it during the Q&A session at the end. Point number 4 is again quite important. You must have an active research program on using AI to accelerate progress in a scientific field. And by that, I mean one of the 3 priority areas or more. And what I mean by that is you already are applying AI within those 3 priority areas. One of those or 2 of those or 3 of those, that's fine. If you have not applied AI to any of these priority areas yet, but you feel that you have an idea which is quite promising on how AI can advance scientific progress, you are still eligible to apply. So as long as you have a clear-cut idea on application of AI for scientific progress in one of the 3 priority areas, I would encourage you to apply. If you have been working solely with AI methods and you want to continue with developing methods and not application, then this is not the right fellowship program, if that's okay. Next slide, please. So now coming on to how to apply. Having seen who can apply and what the structure is like, it's a 2-stage application process. The most important thing we need to be clear with at this point in time is what is stage 1. The deadline of stage 1 is 28th of April, which is in 2 weeks' time. So the fellowship call has been open since 28th of March. You have 2 more weeks left. If there's anyone on this call who has not yet started and is quite keen, I cannot highlight enough, this is the time to get started. And what do you need? Number 1, you need a 7-page CV with a complete list of your academic publication, teaching commitments, title, anything that you feel is relevant for a fellowship program application. Number 2, you need a brief research proposal, 300 words max. So I would say that's pretty light touch to start with, whereby you need to provide details of your research project if you are successful, which of the priority area or areas is your research going to focus on, and why is AI relevant in advancing scientific progress in that research application, in that field. We would also ask you on the online portal to provide details of 2 referees focusing on name, title, email, and work address. We will not contact your referees in stage 1, but we will ask you to provide their contact details. 4th, we need contact details of your head of department at your home institution where you are based. And if you have someone who you feel is head of the department, maybe the dean or the chancellor, you may have a different title, we need their contact details. And in stage 1, you would just contact them and ask if they are supportive of your application, whereby they need to tick a box, that's all. So it's again, pretty light touch. And if you have any extenuating circumstances, being carrying responsibilities, health reasons, pandemic affected your research, anything you think the panel should be aware of as to any extenuating factors you had to face which affected your research or teaching or career, please do specify that. That document is optional. All the submissions will be online using a portal, and the details are on our website. So if you go to the next slide, Ben, thank you. As to what happens in stage 2, if some of these points are not clear, that's okay, because we want to focus on stage 1. And if you are successful, we will contact you and then we can discuss what exactly is needed in the second stage. But just to give you an idea, if you make it to stage 1 and we get back in touch with you saying that your application is successful, what we will require is a statement of purpose. Why are you applying? How would that help you? Number 2, a detailed research proposal. Remember, stage 1, research proposal is only 300 words. Now we need a bit more technical, a bit more longer proposal. Third, a letter from the head of department. So they need to back your application. 2 samples of written work. This is papers that you have in the last 5 years. They can be published or they can be working papers. You can be a co-author or a senior author or a first author, doesn't matter, as long as it's a paper where you are at least a co-author. And you would request that you specify what are your contributions for that particular paper. A training plan, whether you want any AI related or professional skills that you want to acquire or develop during the 3 years of the fellowship. So it's quite tailor-made, as Ben said. And finally, a statement on ensuring wider benefit of this fellowship. So how do you want to maximize the impact and how we can help with that? So we are here to support you at this point in time on how to make an application and on how to get the most out of this fellowship if you get it. So going to the next slide, please. For me, the most important point there is highlighted in blue. 28th of April is when the application portal will close. You have 2 weeks to submit your application for stage 1. That's the key focus. If you're successful, 20th of May is when the application portal will open for the more detailed application to be submitted, and that would close on the 3rd of June. And we'll contact you if your application is successful through stage 1. Interviews would be in late June or early July. Next slide, Ben. So I would highly recommend all of you on the webinar, if you want to apply, please do go to that website. That's the main website of this fellowship program. And if you see, I've pointed an arrow to a tab which says how to apply. That will tell you how you make an application for this fellowship. And as I said, stage 1 is pretty light touch. And you can find a list of FAQs. You can look at more details about research departments, program structure, what this fellowship is about, what the priority areas are, who are we looking at, and so on and so forth. So click on that tab, how to apply. But if you have any questions on this call, which are very specific, that you may not want to ask during the Q&A session for any reason, and I would encourage you ask, but if we can't answer your question properly, you want to send us a follow-up, I would request that you go to that tab on the bottom right of the screen which says Get in Touch. If you click on that tab, it will take you to another page. Next slide, Ben. Which would open this new tab, which you now see at the bottom right of your screen. It's a contact form. So if you have any doubts regarding whether your title is eligible or not, or whether your research proposal is within the remit of the fellowship or not, please do fill out that form and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. I would make one request to everyone. Please do not write emails to any of us or to our faculty. We want you to fill the form so that we all can allocate you to the best person who can address your question. It would help us streamline the whole process and get back to you faster. And if we go to the next slide. Thank you. So the main website you want to go to is the fellowship website, which I just showed you in the last slide. If you're applying from India, I would request that you also look at the Oxford India website. The link to the website is right up there. That's how the web page looks like. It just tells you that if you're applying from India, it gives you a bit more context about Indian universities and institutes. So you have a bit more information. And if you're applying from Africa, I would request that you look at the next slide website, Ben, thank you. The AFOX website, which is the Africa Oxford Initiative. So you have the main website, which is for the Schmidt Faculty Fellowship. If you're applying from India, please do look at the OICSD website for the fellowship program. If you're applying from Africa, look at the AFOX website as well. So I'm requesting all of you look at 2 websites, the main faculty fellowship website and OICSD for Indian faculty and AFOX for African faculty. I hope that gave you a flavor on the 3 questions: who can apply, faculty program structure, and how to apply. Any questions, please post them in the Q&A chat and we'll discuss it at the end of this presentation. Thank you again for your attention, and over to you, Ben. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Siddharth. So I'm just going to now finish this presentation by talking a little bit about Oxford's structure. So each researcher at Oxford, including the incoming fellows for this program, typically belongs to a number of interconnected academic and social communities. There is the department, which will be your primary academic home. You will be hosted within that department by a particular research group. And that department sits within a wider division. And the division for this particular fellowship is going to be the Mathematical, Physical, and Life Sciences division, as Siddharth said. So that gives you some idea of the types of project that we're going to be looking for because of the division in which the department will be based. There is also a college to which you all belong. So a college is a much broader type of academic environment where you have fellows from a range of different academic disciplines, but it gives you another opportunity to develop social and research links with people outside of your departmental setting. Oxford has more than 30 colleges, and it has no central campus because of that, effectively. And as I said before, colleges provide you with an environment with which to mix with people, academics outside of your departmental bounds. And each college has its own dining facilities and, for example, a library. It also has other facilities, including, for example, gyms. And generally, colleges are grounds of pastoral care and community. And just on the right here, I'm showing an image from one of the colleges, which is part of this scheme, which is Somerville College. Being a member of the University of Oxford also entitles you to use our numerous libraries. As I said, most colleges typically have a library, but there are a host of central university libraries to which you all will be free to go and work in. And I've included just some images of them here. More generally, Oxford is a very pleasant place to live and to work. It's a very walkable city. A lot of people go around Oxford on bicycles, and it has a nice mix of sort of town, university, and also countryside. And I've included some images down at the bottom here of some of the views that await you in Oxford. So with that, we will finish the sort of formal presentation side of today's webinar, and we will now step into the Q&A session, which is going to be hosted by Wendy. So I'll hand over to Wendy now.